Okay, I think I might as well maybe get started as people pour in because I've got 101 on my clock and I don't want to hold up people's time. So, hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you're watching from. My name is Carly Reynolds. I'm on the marketing team here at Lemonade LXP. Welcome to our webinar on the 4 ways financial institutions can use product walkthroughs to drive digital adoption. Just a couple of admin notes before we fully officially get started. If you want to engage with us during this webinar, at the bottom of your screen, you should have a control panel. You can submit questions to us either through the Q&A or the chat. If you do decide to use the chat function, be sure to click to all panelists and attendees so that we can all have a conversation together. I will be moderating the chat, so feel free to jump in there now, say hello, tell us where you're watching from. At the end of the webinar, we will do a Q&A segment, and I will do my very best to bring forward as many of your submitted questions as I can for John and Romeo to answer. If we don't get to your question live, we will be reaching out with a response via email within 24 hours. We will also be recording this webinar, so if you need to step away midway through, or maybe you're multitasking and you might miss some segments and you need to refer to this webinar at a later date, no worries. We will be sending out a link to the recording via email also within 24 hours. We will also be launching some polls throughout this webinar, so we would really appreciate it if you participated in them. It kind of gives us a sense of where everybody's at and allows us to kind of on the fly tailor the webinar to the people who are here with us. So I think those are all of my admin notes. I am going to jump into the chat and turn things over to our CEO and founder, John Finley, and our Director of Business Solutions, Romeo Maoni. Take it away, guys.
Thanks, Carly. Hi, gang. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us. I'm only going to talk for a second right now. My name is John Finley. I'm the CEO, as Carly mentioned. I've got Romeo here with me. And Romeo's going to talk about the 4 ways that technology walkthroughs can drive digital adoption. And at the end, I'll give you a quick walkthrough of a product that we built to help you do that really quickly. But I think the first thing, the meat of the presentation really goes to Romeo to tell you a little bit about why they're so important for driving adoption. So while Rom talks, I'm going to turn off my video because if you're like my teenage kids, you don't want to see me.
I do know before I get started, John, you wanted to run a poll just before we got into the first section.
Oh yeah, that's right. So Carly, could you pull up the poll? So yeah, we were just curious to know, in terms of promoting your tech, we're wondering what you guys are currently doing to promote it. So, sometimes we see FIs running TV ads. We also see email campaigns. And then of course there's frontline advocacy, like training your frontline so that they're able to promote your technology. And some FIs are running promotions and then others aren't really doing anything. So we're just curious to know where you fall. So we'll give you a second to answer that. Okay, and so we see that email campaigns are the #1. Nobody's doing TV ads. That's good. Frontline advocacy, only 36%. We kind of feel that might be the best place to do it. And it's only 9% doing nothing. So interesting to see what people are doing. I'm glad that people are doing stuff. So I'm going to hand it over to Romeo to take it from here.
Awesome. Thanks, John. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And because it's 2020, welcome to my home also. So in this presentation, really, I think the first thing I want to do is get into some digital adoption worst practices, where I typically talk about best practices. Because I tend to see these a lot, I thought it might be fun to look at what we're seeing a lot in the industry that people shouldn't really be doing. And the first one, and I think this is probably the most common, is a lot of FIs put 100% of their organizational investment into the build of the technology itself. And I'm not at all saying that's not important. The user experience and the interface and all the bits of the tech that make it great and easy to use are important. But there's a lot of other stuff that you need to do as well. And when the focus is exclusively on the tech, you're not going to see the type of pickup numbers that you actually want in terms of customers really genuinely using it. The second mistake that we see is FIs not investing in support tools. So kind of leaving their frontline, in the wilderness with no tools to support them for this new tech as it comes in. Something we see a lot of the time is outreach to customers, the cornerstone of it being product awareness. Now, not to say product awareness isn't important, but broad-based national or statewide media campaigns about your FI's mobile remote deposit capture really isn't the most effective use of funds. What we've really found is the most effective and efficient way to get digital adoption is focusing your customer outreach on your existing customers and showing them how to use the tech rather than awareness campaigns. And the last one, and I think this is probably the biggest problem, is assuming employees are going to buy into the tech, use it, and recommend it just because the tech is amazing and great. That's really kind of a rough assumption, the build it and they will come theory. It just doesn't work. So these are really what we see a lot in the industry of how not to approach digital adoption. So into the meat of our presentation, the first thing I want to talk about is just the difference between walkthroughs and simulators, because I'm going to be talking about both of them during this quick webinar. And then I know John's going to be walking through both of them. So I just want to get the terms out of the way and how we describe them. So a tech walkthrough, I like to really think of this as like driving with Google Maps up and on your dashboard. You've got a destination, and each turn along the way, it tells you where to go. So in terms of a financial technology walkthrough, it's a little blinking light, or it's a click here button that clearly shows you what you're supposed to do next. Whereas a simulator is more like driving on your own through a new neighborhood. You can take every turn you'd like. You can check out different roads, places to stop, and really kind of take it at your own pace. When it comes to financial technology, this really means you can explore all the features like you would be able to in the real version of the app or of the desktop technology. So both of these pieces of tech are actually really important for creating that kind of buy-in that we're looking for. They really drive a lot of value, and both of them kind of need to work in concert to be able to support staff and support customers in the way that we need. And talking about why they're valuable, I think one of the biggest reasons is that you get organizational alignment. And by that, I mean you have a congruent experience for staff and for customers. Sometimes what we see FIs doing is they've got LMS courses that've got a lot of text and slideshows for their staff. And then for customers, they have TV advertisements or they have people talking about it. What we like to do is show people the same experience and using the same tech, so you get that kind of congruency between the staff and the customers. What we've also found is that the most successful kind of rollouts of digital products that we've seen kind of let people experience the tech before they adopt it. So staff might get these walkthroughs and simulators a week or 3 weeks before the technology actually goes live, so they have a chance to experiment with it. It also really demonstrates ease and convenience better than a video or a commercial or even an email campaign really ever could. If you give people the ability to get their hands dirty on the tech themselves and play with it, it really demonstrates that ease and convenience to themselves. So you get that kind of aha moment, and people can see how easy it is to actually use and not just be told how easy it is to use. Because I love FIs, but nobody trusts their bank. So sometimes people need to see it themselves. We also find that a risk-free environment is really helpful for letting people practice and learn this technology. Even, for me, I'm a millennial and I take to financial technology fairly quickly. I still would like a practice round before I start dealing with my actual money. That's me. If I talk about my boomer father who thinks, giving credit card to the internet is how they get you, you really want an area where you can try out this tech kind of risk-free, and that really puts people at ease and lets them feel more comfortable about adopting it. So I'm going to get into now is really the title of the webinar today. It's kind of the 4 ways that this technology can be used to really develop digital adoption in your organization. The first one is getting staff in general on board. Because I think sometimes what we forget as financial technology marketers is that the shift to digital, even now, is still a pretty seismic cultural change for your staff. And it really does have to come from the top, especially in the United States. Employees don't have to be members or customers of your financial institution. And the ones that are, they're at work and can very easily make transactions there and don't actually have a strong need to pick up this tech in a real way themselves. And like I said before, it's when you really get your hands on it and start playing with this technology and using it yourself that you convince yourself that it really is actually a valuable and useful piece of tech. You can be told it's convenient and going to save you time, but until you really play with it and save that time yourself compared to a analog transaction, you're not going to really see it. What we always say internally is you've got to buy-in, an email or a memo to staff, or even an LMS course or a slideshow they can click through isn't really going to do it. It's a big shift for people, and you need to put an investment into your staff so they understand it and they're part of the ambassadorship of that program to customers. The first layer of that is your branch staff, because that's really who you want to be the ambassadors for these type of products. Because when you're targeting people in your branch, this is really your number one audience for adopting financial technology. They're actually a customer of yours in your retail branch doing an analog transaction that 90% of the time can be done digitally. So by giving these tools to your branch staff, it really allows them to be an ambassador for that product. It will make them feel a lot more comfortable talking about it. Because if you don't really know a product cold, if you don't believe it and understand it fully, it's hard to get your staff to recommend that product when they themselves probably can't answer questions about it or walk through it with people on their own. So it's really important that your front line, who to most of your customers, this is the representative of the bank. This is what the bank is to these people. And you really want them armed with all the information that they need to be able to talk about that technology seamlessly. Now, the contact center is kind of a whole different beast, and I think maybe even more crucial to have these walkthroughs and simulators on deck for, especially in the last year when a lot of staff have been shifted to contact center, and there's already training challenges for these groups. Many are working from home, and they don't have the sort of informal peer-to-peer learning that we used to have. And I certainly noticed it even in my work. I can only imagine a customer service job, how difficult it is without having people you can rely on for the type of informal learning that, to be honest, used to be the bedrock of this kind of learning in these kind of jobs. So what you really need is tools to be able to support it. So if you are, if a contact center employee is on the phone with someone who's called in with a technical challenge, if they can send that person via email the same walkthrough or the same simulator, so they're both looking at the same property, what we found is that more than anything else, this reduces call times and reduces kind of the misery of the person calling in, because people are never super thrilled to call their bank about a technical support problem. So when you've got tools to make that process more seamless and something that they can look at themselves, it really helps that process go a lot smoother and keep people a lot happier. And it also gives the contact center employee the ability, empower them to talk about other products with that customer when they come in, so that they understand all of the digital offering and can actually help the customers as they go through it. Now that's really staff and how it helps staff. It was the last piece. But I also want to talk about how it directly helps your customers and helps market these digital products to them. What I most often see in customer facing marketing for digital products is really, and I called this out on the first slide, is awareness campaigns. And frankly, we don't think those are the most effective. And from all the data we've seen, per dollar, you're really not pushing the most actual adoption when you run straight up awareness campaigns. What we've found is these walkthroughs really let your customers experience the tech and do it without anxiety. Because there is a lot of, it seems like a big word, but there is some shame that comes up, especially with older people when they don't understand technology and they worry about using it with with their financial institution, what a walkthrough in a simulator allows people to do is feel for themselves how safe and how easy it is, how many guardrails there are against accidents, so they can really feel comfortable making the kind of transactions that they've made for possibly a decade in a branch, or 3 or 4 decades. Will give them the confidence and anxiety reduction that they need to really try it out and use it. I really do think there's like a comfort level you need to be able to adopt this type of technology, and I think that's something that we're really able to provide with these kind of walkthroughs and simulators. Now, I know because I am a jerk, I skipped the poll on the last slide, so I'd love to throw it to John to send up a poll.
Okay, thanks, Rom. So yeah, the next question we had for you is wondering what you're currently doing to train your staff on your technology. And the solutions are similar to how you're promoting it. So some folks are using static user guides, others are using video. And then of course, instructor-led training, but these days that's not quite as popular. And then interactive walkthroughs, and then some, don't have the resources to do much training at all. So we're just curious as to how you're doing it. Okay, so we see that user guides is the #1 spot, video is #2, and then instructor-led, which I'm surprised that folks are still able to do that. So that's great. Thanks for the feedback, and that'll help Ram speak to some of those solutions moving forward.
Yeah, thanks, John. One thing about videos, I think videos are a good tool for teaching staff and customers, but the two problems I'd highlight with them is, one, as you guys making videos are, I'm sure, aware, they aren't the cheapest solution and they take a while to build, whether you're farming them out to an agency or building them in-house. They're very time consuming. And most importantly, I think, with the rate of change in financial technology, most of the FIs we work with, their app is getting at least one update, every week or 2 weeks. Changing a video is also very expensive. So one advantage to walkthroughs and simulators is you can change them on the fly. If your hamburger menu on the app changes, for example, it's really easy to update those same day, so you don't have to worry about constantly reformatting relatively expensive videos. So before I shoot it back to John for a demo, just a couple kind of last thoughts from me and my babbling. And the first one is that it's really focused on a younger generation and people just kind of joining the world of finance and picking a bank in the first place, or young people who still haven't invested enough in an FI to be with it for life. How they choose financial institution is different than how people used to. I know when I was 15, I picked the branch that was closest to my first job so I could get 350 bucks cash as fast as possible. But now people really are picking an app. It sounds kind of crazy, but that's how people actually pick an FI when they're starting out in the world of having their own cash. So I think, and I know we think organizationally here at Lemonade, that FIs really need to highlight the customer experience and the member experience if you're at a credit union. And that commitment, I think, to those groups and showing that they really care about that experience and onboarding new customers with tools to support them, I really do think speaks volumes about the FI. And that's definitely something that customers are going to notice and build a lot of the goodwill that's going to keep those customers long term. So that's kind of the end of my piece on this. I'm going to turn it over to John to go over an actual demo of seeing these pieces in action so that you can get a sense of how simulators and walkthroughs could potentially be used at your FI. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Romeo. So I'm hoping that everybody can see my screen now. This is Lemonade's authoring tool that allows you to author demos and walkthroughs for your version of Digital Academy. Just to show you the end game, I'll go over to a live Digital Academy. And here is an example of a Digital Academy. And basically, it's an online WCAG compliant, searchable, branded hub to house all of your technology walkthroughs and simulators. And it can be used by customers or frontline staff to access the content that they need. So we have a tool that allows you to quickly author this site, but also author the walkthroughs that are on the site. So I'm just going to go back to the authoring environment, and I've already sort of typed in some of the stuff so you don't have to endure my horrible typing skills. But we're going to create a walkthrough of how to activate your account in on a mobile app. So I've already entered the title here and how complex it is. We'll say it's super simple. Only take a couple minutes to complete. So then I go down and I click next. It will prompt me to save. Oh, I just have to, I've used that title before. So I'll click me to save. So once I've done that, I go to my next screen and it allows me to launch my editor. So in the editor is where you'll actually build your walkthrough. If you hadn't yet uploaded screens of your walkthrough, you would just click here and upload them from your hard drive. But in this case, I've already uploaded them so we can launch our asset manager. And then I'll search the asset manager for the specific screens that I'm looking for. So the first screen I want to use is the login screen. And so it's very easy for me to author and create my hotspot. So I just drag and drop over the field that I want to create a hotspot for, release, and it prompts me to enter my guiding text. So I'm going to say enter username, and then the auto text that would fill, I'll say it's John Smith. And then for password, I do the same. And enter your password. And in this case, what I'd like it to display is these stars so it doesn't reveal the password. And then the last thing they'll need to do is log in or tap login to continue. So I'll just say tap here. And there's no auto text because that's just a tap field. So there, I'm done with that screen. So when I want to go to the next screen, I simply click plus again, launch my asset manager, grab my second screen. So there's my second screen, and maybe I want to put a little congratulatory text because they were successful at activating their account. So I say, nice work. Your account, bad typing, is active. Okay, so again, I'll just fix that. So then I would click finish. And now that I'm done, it will actually allow me to test play. So here is the demo that I just authored. So when I click on the hotspot, it enters John Smith, enter your password, and then prompts me to tap here. And I continue, and I've got my output, which is nice work. Your account is active. So that's how fast you can author a walkthrough using the Lemonade platform. Now, if you wanted to take this walkthrough and put it on your Digital Academy, you would go to our Digital Academy authoring tool, which is built into the same admin panel. And this is where you'd enter, if you were building a page, a website from the ground up, you'd enter your page title and privacy, security stuff and all that business. And here you would select all of your styles. So different background colors, text hover, everything's there. But to add my walkthrough, because my site is already created, I would just go to content configuration, click on demos, and this is where I would go and select the specific demo that I wanted to add. So let's say I wanted to add one in my featured area. So I'd select demo. It opens up my screen, and then I just need to search for the screen that I want. So I want the demo I want. So I go activate your account. Then I just need to grab some cover art. So I'll go to here, grab a cover pic, upload it. It'll just take a second. So there is my cover image. Oops, sorry. And then I would click save. And so that would be added to my Digital Academy. So when I go over to my Digital Academy, and let's say I wanted to search for that particular walkthrough, I would just enter activate, and there it is, living there on the Digital Academy site. So very, very fast, very simple to author, both the walkthrough and the website that houses the walkthroughs. So you can have this up in a matter of a day. All we really need is a URL from you, and we can get this up for you very quickly. So that is basically our webinar. I'm going to put up my screen here because we have an offer, a 90-day free trial offer. There's my email address. And basically, if you would like to test out Digital Academy for free for 90 days, shoot me an email and I can hook you up with our product folks who could get you started. So thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate you joining, and I hope it was valuable use of your time.
Okay, I've just got a couple of questions that I'm going to fire at you guys. We just got this great question from Lisa. She says, what happens if you update your tech? Do you have to redo your walkthroughs?
No, so what I just showed you, the authoring. So if I wanted to go in and change a specific screen, I just go into the same authoring tool, pick the walkthrough or simulator that I authored, and go to the specific screen I need to change. And I can either change the hotspots or I can change the entire screen and create new hotspots. So it's super easy. And then those changes will then be, you just need to go to your Digital Academy and update the file, which is as simple as one click. So it's very, very fast to make updates when your tech changes, because we realize your tech changes all the time.
We've got another question here from Rochelle. The question is, can you keep what you create in the trial even if you don't buy?
No, the demos are not, if you create demos for the Digital Academy, they live within the Lemonade environment. So the site that you create houses those. We do have the ability to author exportable demos in Lemonade. So if that's something that you're interested in, shoot me an email and we can talk about the details of that.
Okay, another question here from our Q&A, though you might have already answered this with how fast your demo was, John. How long does it take to launch one of these?
As fast as you can author, really. I mean, the truth is, all we need is a URL so that we can create your instance. And once your instance is live, you saw how quickly we can author. So it's as fast as you can move. Get your technology screens into Digital Academy and Lemonade, and go through and author them. And creating the website to house them is literally under 5 minutes. And as you saw, the walkthroughs are very fast as well. So as quickly as you can go. As I said, all we need is a URL.
Okay. Rochelle is also wondering if we can share pricing.
Yeah, so it's asset-based. And so pricing basically starts at about 15K and goes up to a little over 100K, depending on the size of your institution. And we did that so that Digital Academy can be used by institutions of all sizes, and there's no limit to the number of walkthroughs that you can create.
Okay, I think that's all the questions that we have for now. Thank you to everyone for submitting your questions. Those were great questions. If we didn't get to your question live, once again, we will be sending you responses within 24 hours.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.